Good morning, Principal. You said you wanted to talk to me about one of my lessons I did, I think it was 2 days ago. I think that was my language arts strategy that I did, the anticipation guide. Oh, you have it right here. Thank you. Excellent. What was the problem? Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I can go through the entire thing and I can explain the whole thing for you. I promise. All right, excellent. So, what's the entire point of this? The entire point of us having our kids read is we want them to ask questions. We want them to experience higher order thinking by putting themselves in the character's shoes, and as well as all the other standards that we follow. So I have my third grade class. I have 4 emergent bilinguals. I have them spread out into groups of 2. So one will be with an advanced reader, the other one will be another advanced reader, and so on and so forth, so they can assist each other. So with those in mind, I had to make special modifications. And to do that, I did a pre-reading activity. And I'll explain the benefits of that in a second. So what was the activity? It was an anticipation guide. And the entire focus of it is what I did is I handed out sentences to students that they have to take a stance on. Examples of this were things like, everybody has value. If I'm darker, people think I'm scary. If someone's brighter, they like them more. And these were things that I gave them so that they could take a stance on it before they read the book without being scared of reading it too much. So again, with my third grade class, we had the book in question was Solway, which was by Lupita Nyong, and it's a very well illustrated book about a girl who's very not happy about her darker colored skin compared to her sister or other people she's seen. And moving on to that, there's the activity itself, which was have them ask those questions, keep them private, read the book, and then share them. And that brings us to the advantages. There's advantages to doing pre-reading activities. And the first one is that for emerging bilinguals especially, and those that struggle with reading, as well as advanced readers too, it allows them to promote their feelings of how they feel about the book right off the bat in the beginning, without even having to open a page in the book. They get the anticipation guide and they blindly answer what they see. And that is very important because later on, they're going to be put into that book. They become the character all of a sudden, and having that higher order thinking that we talked about earlier. And this also goes along with our standard that I used for this, which was Speaking and Listening 3.1, which was having discussions about certain things with their own points of view, with the author as well, which comes from, that's RL 3.6, which is the POV, their point of view from the author and from characters in themselves, being able to differentiate the two. And that connects to our ELD strand 1, section 1, which is being able to exchange information properly in a group with either 2 students or student and teacher. Moving on from that, we go into the social justice benefits of this. This entire book is about social justice, about how someone can feel bad about their skin because they see how others are treated by a different color of their skin. That dialogue comes up all the same in the anticipation guide when they're asked, should all people have value? If you're darker, you're scarier. If you're brighter, then people like you more. These are all dialogue questions that we have that at the end of the activity are all discussed in class. And it is explicitly part of it that for a just, equitable, and inclusive education that I talk about these things. It's one of the things I learned about in my master's program. Moving on from that, this also goes again now into Speaking and Listening 3.1, which is where they're able to have discussions, to exchange ideas, and be able to have discourse with other students. Moving on from that, more important for me, it allows me to gather data. It lets me know where my students are before they even open the book. If I just give them a book to start reading and then they are struggling, I'm blind. I don't know what I'm going to do other than what I already know about my students. But with this, I can gather information almost like an early exit ticket that lets me know where they're going to be right when they start the book. It lets me know where they're going to stand, if they're going to be struggling, and if I need to create any special modifications for my students. Moving on from that, this again creates higher order thinking because now they're not just asking questions about why did the character do this, what would I do in this position? Suddenly they're put into the position of the character and now they have to make the choices. And following that, we get into the theory of literature-based activities, which is reading aesthetically. We read to feel what the characters feel, not just effortly to gain information. By reading aesthetically, we are, in theory, reading to feel what the character feels, and in order to make our own decisions and make our own stances in the anticipation guide, we are now put into the story, which puts us into the cognitive constructivist theory, which is where they believe that when students ask questions about characters and they put themselves in the story, now they're the center of the reading thing. Does that make sense? Because I went through this entire thing thinking that this would be a great addition to what any reading could be. If we could all do this at school, I feel like this would be a great addition, a small investment for long-term motivation to help English language learners enjoy reading for the rest of their lives.